about to drop.
The start will be critical. Flag is up.
Looking for a much better effort than he had in the first heat. Here we go.
Side by side, and it's Barry Jones wins the first gear exchange, heading up Bitchapave Hill for the first time. Gibson zeroes in on the inside of him as they race up to the top of Marlborough and down into Dunlop Loop. Side by side they were, because Fred Gibson has now gone through to take the lead away from Barry Jones. That puts Peter McLeod up very, very smartly indeed into third place. And then making a move there is Jim Keogh in the Toshiba entry, and Greg Topfer with Gary Wilmington out very wide indeed in the fourth. Just look at the rain soaking the circuit as fiery Fred Gibson, the Nissan 2-bird, comes down the back straight.
Well, he got the start that he wanted. Fred Gibson quickly away, not quite as quick as Barry Jones, but he held it up the hill the first time, Gibson, and now has the lead. Barry Jones second in car 41. Third spot held down by Peter McLeod at the present time, car number 50, another RX-7. Paul Jones is in there too, yes, in another RX-7. Quite a battle going on for third, fourth, fifth places, but the leader clear cut.
We heard from Fred Gibson to say that they're running on full wet weather rubber.
Wise.
Judging by the little sideways movement there from Barry Jones, maybe he might be on intermediates. Only time will tell. Over the top and down into Dunlop Loop again. Freddie Gibson starting to increase that lead now over Barry Jones in the RX-7 and Peter McLeod. There's the gap from first to second. And there's Barry Jones running in second spot in the race.
Jones won the first heat that opened the start of our telecast here this afternoon. Did not complete the second heat, and you can see by the damage to parts of his car why.
Talking to Barry Jones on the starting line, asking why he had crashed. I just chose the wrong tyres. He fitted intermediates rather than slicks. They went off as the track dried and he just lost control. He's got racing wet tyres now, as has Fred Gibson, hand-cut slicks with deep grooves to channel the water off, and he's not going to make the same mistake. Now it's just purely and simply a question of power, and so far it seems that the power belongs to the turbo. But
from the driver's
back in the field, that's the sort of view you get. That's Gary Wilmington's car, and how would you like to be racing with that sort of view?
The same problem last year, Gary Wilmington, in one of the wet races, didn't have the windscreen wipers working at all, and I dare say he has a problem in that area again.
Yes, I don't know whether he's just choosing not to run it because there's only a light mist, or whether they're not working, whether they're not even effective, but whatever it is, he's not getting much of a view. He's closing up a little bit on the car in front, but now he's going down a hard part of the circuit, coming towards the left-hand bend, and as you can see, Gary Wilmington, like all the other drivers further back in the field, aren't getting much of a view, which is why it pays to be right out in front like Freddie Gibson.
Well, he's got the best view as he goes past the start-finish line with 3 laps completed. This is a 10-lap event, and Fred Gibson on a high, having won the second heat today, finished second in the first heat. And he's looking to make it 2 out of 3 to help him on his way up the point score ladder in the Better Brakes AMSCAR series.
I was out at Amaroo Park on another mission some weeks ago, and by chance stumbled upon Fred Gibson and Howard Marsden, the team manager of Nissan, here testing tyres, and that's one reason why they do so well. They are thorough. They were out here trying a variety of tyres. Look at the gap back to the third placeman. That's how far back there. That's Greg Topher running in third place, behind the Turbo Bluebird and the RX-7.
He's done very well to get by McLeod's Mazda, the big Commodore. A ton of power and hard to handle around this tight circuit under these conditions. Big gap between the first and second place getters and himself.
He's come on well, Topher, hasn't he, really? You know, he's one of the drivers we tend not to see a great deal of in races, and he really is shining in this meeting. He's up in third place, has always been prominent.
McLeod in fourth spot, and Gary Wilmington, and that's him with the camera in the car, in fifth spot. And if you can see him, that's McLeod just out there in front somewhere. By gee, I'd hate to be driving under these conditions. Gary Wilmington with tremendous power, closing up on McLeod as they come over the top of Bitchapave Hill, now going down into the big sweeping right-hander called Dunlop Loop.
Surprisingly, Gary, it was the big Falcon which closed on the lighter Mazda. I would have thought that the Mazda would have pulled away there, but in fact, Gary Wilmington, as we see the flash, the typical flash of the rotary engine backfiring through the exhaust. Nothing wrong with the car, that's just the characteristic of the rotary engine. Yes, he is catching up on the rotary.
And right behind him, of course, there's Jim Keogh in the Toshiba car, which you'll notice go down the left-hand side. There he goes now. So if you thought that Gary Wilmington was running fast in that V8, now he has to do it all over again. He's lost one more spot, and that's Jim Keogh.
Trying to get back again on the inside, coming out of Winfield. Side by side, they come down into Wunderlich corner. Wilmington's got the line.
I'm not quite sure where Keogh ended up because he was there when we last saw. No,
there he is.
He's not a blur of white paint.
He's not giving up.
Toshiba car going well. This is a good effort by Keogh. Really, he's driving under very difficult conditions in a spirited fashion. That's a lot of Tiger, more than I might have expected there. These are desperately difficult, dangerous conditions, and Keogh is pressing on very hard, trying to get by Wilmington. Got by him, lost out on the sheer power. Will have to do it all again, but the way he's driving, he's going to try. He won't be seeing much. His wipers are going, whereas Wilmington's aren't, so obviously Wilmington's wipers aren't working. So instead of wagging the wipers, he wags the tail.
Coming down into Honda again, getting a little bit sideways, Gary Wilmington.
Well, he's got the pressure on him, hasn't he? A little bit loose there at the front too, the bodywork.
Well, here comes Keogh again in the Toshiba Commodore down on the inside. Wilmington, not bad shape coming out of that corner. The short straight away, the run to Wunderlich corner, brings them back onto the long straight here at Amaroo Park. And that'll give you an idea what it's like inside Gary Wilmington's car.
They're battling for 5th position, Wilmington and Keogh. McLeod up ahead of them in 4th. Topher is up in 3rd spot. Barry Jones 2nd, and the race leader is still Fred Gibson.
It must be an enormous handicap to Wilmington not to have the wipers going. You can see what the view is like. Let's see what things are like with the leader. His wipers will be going, I think, although he doesn't have any spray from preceding cars to worry him, but Fred will have everything working he possibly could, including the wipers. A white strip across the top of the screen, as most drivers have, just to prevent the sun shining in their eyes. Not likely to be a hazard today here at Amaroo Park. And Fred Gibson, 42 years of age, racing for 22 of those. One of the great characters, one of the nice blokes of motor racing. Won Bathurst way back in 1967 with Harry Firth. And now enjoying truly a new lease of his motor racing life as the development and racing driver for Nissan. About 2.5 laps still to go in this final heat of the Better Brakes AMSCAR Touring Car Series here. Fred Gibson in front, scooting away, enjoying himself. Fred loves his motor racing. The fact that he's on tyres that are giving him good grip, tyres that he's helped develop and test, and that they hang on, he'd be having a ball, because like other drivers like Colin Bond and Dick Johnson and John French and some of those who really do race for the sheer pleasure of it, Freddie Gibson loves his motor racing.
He's 5.6 seconds ahead of Barry Jones, holding down 2nd spot in the Darrell Lee Mazda RX-7. And then it's a very substantial margin from Jones back to Greg Topher in 3rd place. And Topher, in fact, is under pressure at the moment for that spot from Peter McLeod in yet another RX-7. There's Barry Jones, 2nd place getter, going up Bitchapave Hill, 6 seconds in arrears of Fred Gibson.
What a good effort to get this car back on the road, because it did bend its suspension, and you can see all the tape over the car in the prang it suffered in the first heat. So in only a matter of about an hour or so, they've rebuilt the suspension of the car and taped it all back together. And
McLeod has got by Topher, so he's now in 3rd spot. There goes Fury out of sight. There's Jones holding down 2nd. Another RX-7. Peter McLeod is in 3rd place. Coming around, Fred Gibson to get the last lap board as he takes this corner, straightens up for the start-finish line. There's the board.
The last lap sign for Fred Gibson in the Works Nissan Turbo, and the sight of these cars winning races and doing well, as George Fury has been in the National Series, can't be one that brings a great deal of joy into the hearts of rival manufacturers, because all of them know that not only is this factory effort doing much better than they thought, but they know it's just the start. There are better cars to come. There are bigger engines in store. This is very much a Japanese toe in the water, and the fact that it's proving so successful will certainly lead to other efforts from Nissan and maybe some of the other manufacturers as well. And it's good to see a factory racing like they are, out here proving their product, developing new cars, because we'll certainly see turbocharged cars from this factory and others on the market before long. In the meantime, Freddie Gibson not thinking about such things, just thinking about winning the race. 2 more corners to go, soaring away at the wheel in classic Gibson fashion around Winfield. He has Barry Jones no more than 150 metres behind, but he can't do anything about it. It's going to be Fred Gibson who wins the final round with the Better Brakes AMSCAR Touring Car race here this afternoon. Across the line he goes. The checker flag waves for him. Here comes Barry Jones in second spot in the Mazda RX-7. And it'll be Peter McLeod in the Slick 50 RX-7 in third place. So it's Nissan, Mazda. That's the order.